Hi, I'm Jen.
Sup, I'm Allora.
And this is the
It's
Soul
Soul
Opposites
Opposites
podcast. Okay, this is episode 1/pilot, where we basically introduce ourselves, the podcast, and put our friendship to the test.
Dun dun dun.
So, some context. I am Jen.
I'm Allora. Hi.
How would you describe us to people who are literally only hearing our voice? 20-something millennials.
Yeah, we like nerdy and geeky stuff.
Queer as hell.
We mostly just stay in our rooms socializing with no one.
Struggle with mental health on a daily basis.
That was finger guns with a click.
Sums us up pretty well. Although, that being said, we're functioning fairly well these days.
I've become high functioning. What?
Upgrade. I feel like we should touch on the most important thing about us, or at least I feel like the most important thing about us, which is the fact we've been best friends for like 14 years?
Math.
Since we were 12.
Since we were 12, we did know each other in second grade, and then we both forgot that we knew each other, but remembered our other friend, but not each other.
So yes, we've known each other for decades. It's got to be over 20 years now.
Yeah.
But realistically, we became really good friends when we started high school.
Yeah.
And we've been through some trials and tribulations, but probably nothing like super dramatic. Like, we've never had like a blown out fight where we didn't talk to each other for a long ass time.
We haven't had anything super dramatic between us, but we've both had a lot of separate dramas.
Yeah.
That we've been like besties through.
Yeah. I sort of assume like we have the safe space with us that like we know we're not going to deal with crap.
Yeah.
You know, we'll always...
And we have a running inside joke that if we're both going through a really bad time at the same time, the world will end, because that like never happens.
Yeah. We're always one or the other, or we're both sort of middling.
Yeah.
It's never quite extremes. But I'm kind of curious, because we've always, not that we've always had the same dynamic, but we've always sort of been very chill with each other. And I get the vibe that a lot of people don't have the kind of friendship that we do.
From what I can tell, it is pretty unusual.
Like, yes, everyone can have friendships where they have deep conversations and then they can go completely nutty in the same thing. We've got that, but we've got this kind of ability to know what the other person needs.
Yeah.
At any time. And it's not always like a overt thing. It's kind of like a quiet companionship, maybe?
Yeah.
You know? If we're going through a tough time, the other person is just like, well, I'm there and I'll do whatever it has to.
Yeah.
Do.
Including like, cool, you need some space, I'm chill with that, I'm here when you need me.
Yeah, because I've got a terrible habit of like taking days to reply to a message, or, you know, just turning into a recluse for a month. So, I don't know, but I don't know what's different about our friendship compared to others, other than the fact that I just genuinely believe we're like soulmates, which is kind of where the name of this podcast comes from. Because as much as we click, we're also complete opposites.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's part of why we work so well, or if it's just a cute little quirk that we have.
We balance each other out.
Yes. Yes. So then with this podcast, it's partly about our friendship, but it's also partly, I don't know, I feel like we have really cool, interesting conversations, and I like the idea of recording that for our sake.
Yeah.
It's not like, because our old podcast, which we did years and years ago, and you cannot find on the internet, so don't look.
Thank God.
We were babies. Was a little bit more preachy. It was a little bit more, we went into it with like this big intention of like, we're going to talk about deep topics. We're going to, you know, I guess I partly went into it being like, we're going to educate people because we were having conversations back then that
Yeah.
are way more common today than they were 5-10 years ago. But this one, I want it to be chill. I want this podcast to be for us.
Yeah. It's kind of like us, like, recording on a road trip vibes.
Very much so.
Just chilling.
Because I don't know if it's just because of how much I work or all that, but I have this thing with memory that I just move on really quick. And so it's really hard for me to remember where I come from.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of emotional growth, but it doesn't feel like that a lot of the time because I don't remember where I started. And I feel like this will be a really cool thing to come back to down the track and be like, wow, I've come so far. Or wow, I literally haven't grown at all. I have regressed to a toddler. So that's kind of my intentions going to this. I'm sure I have other intentions as well. I kind of want to do a little bit of mental health work through this podcast. Not that either of us are professionals, besides...
Definitely not. Disclaimer here.
Yeah, so
We're
a lot
just
of the
professionals
stuff...
at being mentally ill.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, if your mark is people who have dealt with a lot of shit and also don't know how to deal with their shit, then we qualify. 100%. But if it's like, did we go to uni to fix our problems? No. In fact, uni made my problems worse. But I would love to do that because not everyone has access to therapy.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea that you can only get better with therapy. Therapy is important, but I don't think it should be like, if you haven't got therapy, then none of your progress is valid or...
Yeah, and I mean, I think we are saying this because I do not want to be that person who's like, wow, professional help, what's the point, blah, blah, blah. But I did consistent therapy, like psychologists, psychiatrists, the whole shebang, group sessions, for a solid decade, and I've made more progress in the last year since I've stopped.
Yeah.
But that's just me, and I think a lot of that does have to do with the fact that I did so much in the past that it was no longer benefiting me. I was ready to move forward in my own way.
Because one of the therapies that you did, and I would argue was the one that I saw the most growth from you and that I think set you up for a life post-therapy, if you will, was your DBT work.
Yes, DBT was the best one for me, definitely.
Yeah, which... Can you remind me what DBT stands for?
Dialectical Behavioral Therapy.
Oh, she did it in an ASMR voice. How lovely.
Yes.
Which is a different type of therapy than what is usually standard for psychologists, right? Because normally they rely on CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. Pretty standard. But DBT is... How would you say it's different?
It's based on CBT. It's just a lot more intense, I guess. And I always found CBT, the instructions unclear. Like, they would just always tell me things that I was just like, okay, but how do I do that? What are the steps to doing this thing you're telling me to do? It made no sense to me.
Yeah, because my experience with CBT was very like, and I don't want to overgeneralize with this therapy, but for me, it felt very like Band-Aid solutions. It'd be like, here's a problem. Now, what is the steps you can take to solve this problem? But then as soon as I would do that, other things would come up and it wouldn't.
It's funny that you say that because my first psychiatrist when I was like 14.
Your badge of honor.
Yeah. So he actually said to me at the time, because I was dealing with essentially intrusive thoughts, but also I had, how do you say it, like trichotillomania, like the compulsive hair pulling. And he was going over everything with me, and he was like, look, you're an incredibly anxious person, and from what I've heard, you've always been that way. I can help you manage these symptoms. They are going to come out in other ways.
Oh, that's pretty...
And it's the only one I've ever had tell me that. And everyone else is just like, wow, why do you have new symptoms now that I'm, like, masking the old ones? And I'm like, because I'm still anxious.
Well, that's like... I had several psychologists, but the worst one would try to give me breathing exercises, but breathing and changes in my breathing is actually a trigger for my panic attacks. So she would get me to take deep, calming breaths, and that would trigger me a panic attack in her office, and then she would basically find a way to blame me and not her problems or her techniques.
Oh my God, I had that problem for years and years and years, and then so I had a lot of issues with like eating and body issues and everything when I was younger, and they would always be like, okay, now focus on your stomach going in and out. And the idea of my stomach expanding was completely terrifying and distressing.
Yeah. That's a classic trigger for people with like eating disordered or disordered eating patterns or anything like that.
And I would try and
that
explain that and be like, it's making me more upset. And they'd just be like, oh, you're doing it wrong. Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then the DBT psychologist I had was, before I even brought it up, was just like, and if you find that distressing, focus on the breath going in and out of your nose instead. And I was like, wow, there's a solution that apparently only this person has come up with out of the probably dozens by this point I've seen. Hello, are they qualified?
Revolutionary.
Revolutionary.
But see, the thing is, watching you go through DBT and you shared some of your homework with me was cool, because I literally, like, I saw things get harder for you.
Yeah.
But I also saw progress. And honestly, since then, not that your life or your like mental illness is a bed of roses now, but you're way more equipped to handle it. Like, you're way more kinder to yourself when you're going through a hard time. You are very good at explaining what exactly is going on. Like, you don't have control over what's going on, but at least you understand what's going on.
Yeah, I can take that step back and be like, wow, I feel absolutely terrible for these reasons. Probably not helping that I'm like, haven't eaten enough today, blah, blah, blah. And be like, cool, we'll have some food, have a nap, and probably feel better later.
Yeah, but not just seeing it in your sense, but when I'm going through a tough time, I've noticed that the way you approach where I'm coming from is like, you ask pointed but still general questions. Like, you kind of guide me through it because you know that I'm interested in it, but I don't have the same tools that you have. And as much as I'm self-aware, I also repress a lot, and so it takes sometimes some babying of me to get me there, but you've been able to do that. And so like, I feel like part of my growth is literally just through you using the techniques that you know. Yeah.
I mean, I guess whenever I'm sort of trying to talk to people about something they're dealing with, I can sort of relate to it in some way or another. And I'm just like, okay, well, what conclusions did I need to come to get past that? And then I kind of guide towards that, because you can't just tell people the answer. It's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons I struggle with therapy, is they'd just tell me the answer and I'd be like, but that doesn't apply to me.
Yeah.
I had to figure out how I felt about it, how I thought about it, whether or not I even agreed with what they were trying to tell me I should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a long and complicated history with mental health, receiving help for that. And that's definitely something I want to have conversations in later episodes about, because, you know, we have different diagnoses for one. So like, as much as it sounds like we've gone through similar experiences or we can relate to each other, we do have very different stuff as well. So I would love to go through that.
But we have the shared condition of being people.
Yeah. But where I was going with this was I would love to do some DBT work with you related to me specifically. So we're not giving advice to people, but I am hoping that going through that journey will, one, help me when I listen back to these episodes. But also, you know, if anyone else wants to ask those questions of themselves, and they're going to get different answers, and it's going to result in different progress and results, but maybe that can help too.
Yeah.
Because I believe this stuff should be accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I'm going through. Now, I feel like we can move on to the fun part of this pilot episode that we have planned.
This is going to be really interesting.
I want to give a little bit of context first. We planned to start this podcast literal months ago. I think it may have even been June.
Yeah, probably.
And some things got delayed because I had to get new equipment. I ended up having surgery, and then you literally like the week before we were going to start the podcast, got a job that I swear you said to me you were only going to work 1 or 2 days a week, and
now I'm working like 5 days a week.
It didn't. That escalated quickly, as they say.
Thank God I love my job, though. Like, I mean, who gets to say that? I love my job. It's awesome.
It was. Part of me wishes we had started podcasting just because a lot happened very, very quickly, but I don't think our sanity would have handled it.
No.
So I feel like that's something I want to explore.
Whole-ass one thing, don't half-ass two things.
That's right. We will not half-ass this podcast. So with that in mind, a few months ago, I came up with the idea of, not that a best friend quiz is revolutionary, I won't take credit for that, but I thought we could answer some questions from best friend quizzes, but answer them for each other and then compare whether we know each other that well or not.
Honestly, I'm looking forward to the things we get wrong because it's going to be really funny. I mean, we have all these like either deep and meaningful conversations or really absurd all over the place conversations, but we don't often sit down and go, what's your favorite movie?
Yeah, I feel like, and so I created the questions, like I took questions, I think I read like 10 quizzes, and I just took questions, and then I found some that I was just like, these aren't so good, and I made ones up. So there's actually quite an array. I think there's 30 questions, but I can't remember. And there's all different types. There's really, really simple, but there's also some deep ones. And I did it and then went to try and answer them and really struggled, and I was like, oh crap. So it's not going to be like a perfect score. I know that, but I'm like you. I think the ones we get wrong are going to be very funny because I feel like, I don't know, I just think it's going to be funny that like I can know your innermost thoughts and insecurities and, you know, really obscure stuff, and then like the most general thing like your favorite color or your favorite song or something like that. I'd be like,
yeah, I think that's really cool.
I just shrugged my shoulders like this is a visual thing. So that'll be fun.
You're going to say what the answer is for me, and I'm going to say what the answer is for you.
And then we'll correct, or we will like agree that that's the case. I don't know if we're actually going to keep score of what's right and wrong. I don't feel like that's...
I don't feel like it matters.
Because we're not trying to beat each other. Like, we've never been...
What do you mean? Everything's a competition.
I was literally just going to say, we're not very competitive people, but wow.
But the thing is, we're both so competitive that we will refuse to compete in case we lose.
Yeah, that is... My perfectionism is...
Same.
A serious problem. So... Okay, so I'll go first. So what is the other person's middle name? And
so what's my middle name?
Yours is Beth, but see, that feels like a cheat because you literally use it on so many of your usernames online.
And it's like it's just sort of, if something has my real name, it is the full first, middle,
Allora
last.
Beth, and then your last name.
Because I just feel like it has a better flow that way, like rather than just Allora Sumner, Allora Beth Sumner just has a flow to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's better than my mouthful. Which?
Oh, am I correct? It's Patricia Karen too.
So you're right, but the order's wrong.
Karen Patricia. Also, your Christian name thingy is it Mary?
Yes, that's right. Which is fairly obscure, so good work. But yeah, so my full name is Jennifer Karen Patricia
Well,
Roe.
I knew them both.
Yeah.
And your Christian name, Hairflick.
Oh, you are trying to beat me, aren't you? You don't have one. That's not fair.
Good.
This game is rigged.
You're the one who wrote it.
Well, okay. Points to both of us. Okay, what is the other person's birthday? I'll let you go first.
Yours is the 1st of March.
That's right, and yours is the 23rd of May.
Yes.
The other person's star sign. So you're a Gemini.
You're a Pisces.
And I feel like we embody them fairly well. And the next question is, what is the other person's birthstone?
Yeah, I didn't Google this, so I just totally picked a stone and guessed. But I do know your birth flower.
Ooh.
My guess for birthstone is ruby?
No.
What is it?
It's aquamarine.
Aquamarine, that suits you.
It does, doesn't it?
And your birth flower is daffodil, and I think that suits you too.
Ah, I do like daffodils. That's nice. I like it more than, like if it was rose or something like really, really traditional, that wouldn't have suited me.
Mine's lily of the valley, and
Oh my god, yeah, that is so you. Your birthstone is emerald.
It is.
This one I'm gonna have fun with because I don't know if this is right,
Okay.
but I had a lot of fun thinking about it.
Okay.
So what is the other person's spirit animal? And for you, I didn't go too specific, but I did say it's some type of bird.
Really?
Yeah, and I think I have like stuff behind this, but I'm kind of curious what you think because I have made a joke about my spirit animal several times, and I want to know whether you really thought I was joking or like whether you realized that was legit.
I feel like I went a bit cliche
Okay.
for yours. But I have reasons as well.
Okay.
So I actually did go with dogs.
Ooh.
But that's because a lot of the traits that are associated with dogs, I feel you also have. So like loyalty, community, cooperation, things like that. Like,
I love that because I am I'm not like a dog person over a cat person, but I do really love dogs. Like I genuinely, it's not just that they're cute. Like I love a lot about them. So, I would totally be fine with that. I think, and I should also do a disclaimer here, I understand that spirit animal is like a whole thing, and I don't want to make
kindred
offense.
spirit.
Yeah, but if you were going to,
tiny.
if you were going to embody an animal, if you were going to,
Animorph.
yes.
What's your animorph?
I thought mine was a panda
Yeah.
because for several reasons, they can be goofballs.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty lovable. They're also lazy as shit. And hello, they sleep a lot. Also hello. And one of my favorite facts about them is they're vegetarian, kind of by choice, but only in the sense that they're too lazy to go kill other animals.
Yep.
And therefore result to eating bamboo.
Yep.
I am vegetarian. Not necessarily for like strict reasons, but like it is partly laziness because I just don't enjoy chewing meat. So I don't know. There's a few parallels there, but I kind of like the thought that went into yours.
Why did you pick bird for me? I'm interested to know.
So for me, birds are usually used as like a symbol of freedom. And I think you are fairly independent. You like your freedom. And they're pretty.
I'm just like, obviously you can't see me because this is a podcast, but as Jen's talking, I'm like staring off into the middle distance, and in my head it's, I'm like that.
See, I thought your eyes were tearing up, but clearly it's just from holding in.
I'm just like singing Nelly Furtado, like staring into the middle distance.
I don't know. There's something about birds that are both delicate but terrifying as someone who has a phobia of birds. Which is funny that my best friend... Oops.
I like that. I am adorable and delicate, but I'll fuck you up. Don't test me.
Yeah, and like I couldn't really specify what type of bird because... I don't know. I don't think there is one in particular. See, to me, peacocks are very masculine energy for some reason, so I wouldn't be a peacock. And I know you used to have a joke about being a lorikeet because you got distracted by shiny things and your reflection in the mirror. Yeah.
A booby.
Yes. Oh my god.
My maturity.
I want you to draw a picture because Allora's an artist. Face me. Allora is an artist, both digital and... What's the word for not digital art?
Well,
manual?
You could say analog, but that's not the word.
I was thinking manual, like I was referring to a car or something.
It's slipping my mind too. My favorite medium is like painting with oils.
Yeah. So I wanted you to do like some form of art where it's you looking in a mirror and the double-footed booby is looking back.
Yes.
Perfect. I love that we've settled that. That's your official like animorph.
My animorph.
Your
that's how we're gonna phrase this now. It's animorph.
Your animorph is a booby. Oh, this one's an interesting one. What is the other person's love language? For you, I've put in gifts, like giving gifts.
And feeding people specifically is the gift. I'm like, you're sad? Here, I made you food. Eat.
Yeah, but you're the kind of person's like, you give care packages. Like, you won't just give food. You'll be like, here's a card. Here's like this cool thing that made me think of you.
That's true.
So, and I put that, I actually, with this question, split my answers between how you show your love and how you receive it, because they're, to me, different, right?
Yeah,
like, just
I
because you
agree,
like giving
actually.
gifts doesn't mean you like receiving
It's
them.
not a good love language to use at me. Like, for me, gifts are kind of like,
Yeah. And
unless I know that's like the main way someone communicates, and then I understand it. But I feel like a lot of the time when people have often just sort of thrown gifts at me that haven't had much thought in them. But it's almost like, look, I bought you something, don't complain. And I'm like, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted you to spend time with me. I wanted a conversation.
So I put down your like love language for receiving love as words of affirmation. Because I think, as much as like, yeah, quality time would definitely be like probably the second. If you're spending that quality time but you don't feel like you're connecting, and generally it would probably involve some form of like verbal communication, it probably wouldn't feel as satisfying to you. So that's what I did that. And just because you have a preference one way or the other, that doesn't mean you can't do all the other love languages. Like, I don't think it makes, like, I don't think there's one and you can only do that. So that's how I put for you. Do you think I was right?
Yeah, I think that's actually pretty accurate. It didn't even occur to me to split it into like giving and receiving. So
yeah, I was meant to like preface that, and then I completely forgot. But yeah, that's how I did it. So I'm not expecting you to have two answers for me.
No,
but I do have two answers for myself.
Okay. I feel like you're an acts of service person. You do things for people to show you care. It's like how I give gifts, but you will help with something. You'll look up something that someone's interested in to like share with them, and yeah, I feel like that's how you express love.
It's so funny because I put down for giving, I put acts of service.
Yes.
And I actually have an example today.
Another point for me.
I'm laughing because it's funny, but like the thing is, the look you give when you say that, like, it's kind of demonic.
I like to imagine my eyes are just going red and there's like flames around me.
Do you know, like, with on YouTube, the puppet history, and you know, like when the puppet professor gets angry and he starts vibrating, like, it's kind of like that. It's kind of great.
With the same amount of seriousness.
So I work as a domestic cleaner / support worker, and today we were cleaning some offices, and we were doing an office that like has a reception area that self-locks, and there was one of the other cleaners was vacuuming in there, but she like knew it was going to lock and she was new and she wasn't really managing. So I literally took off one of my shoes, put it in the door so the door would like stay open ajar, and then went for the next half an hour with one shoe on my foot.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Like the phrase like would give you the shirt off their back is something I would literally do if necessary.
Yeah.
So I feel like any other answer would be invalid. So I agree with you on that one. To actually receive, I put down quality time. Because someone being willing to spend time with me or go out of their way to do something with me that they think I would like, or just include me in things, is something that almost always tears me up. I just don't have a very high opinion of myself. And so when other people
I'm making a face which none of you can see.
It's a thing.
If anyone's even listening.
It's what I'm working on, but it's a thing. And so when other people sort of display that, it really takes me out of my head and makes me realize that I have valuable friendships and I'm obviously giving something. So that's what I put down for that. But pretty good. We haven't gotten any off yet. I mean, okay, you got Birthstone wrong.
Yeah.
So you're losing.
But I know your birth flower.
That's true. I'll be fair.
So I get a bonus point.
All right, here's some fun question. Bonus points. Here's a creativity point. Okay, so some fun this or that questions. Is the other person a dog? Is the other person a dog? Mic drop.
Your animal, according to me.
Does the other person prefer dogs or cats? I put down cats for you because that
I put
seems
down dogs for you, but
Yeah.
I feel like neither of us are strong preference. We both like both.
Yeah, I think we just identify with the opposite. more.
Yeah, certainly identify with cats.
Yeah.
And also it's really funny because there've been a few times that like I've known someone and they're like, oh man, my cat's an asshole, my cat doesn't like anybody, and then their cat will be like jumping up on me for nurses and giving me kisses, and I'm like, yeah, well, like maybe you're just not nice to your cat.
Yeah, maybe your cat is telling you something. Maybe it's like just what's the term for like giving back what they get?
Yeah,
You know, quid pro quo, man.
I mean, a lot of people, you know, they treat their cat well and everything, but a lot of people don't understand cat language. And I think that's because I'm so used to cats, having so many growing up. I pick up on it, I think, easier. And I've noticed people who are more used to cats seem to bond easy with cats because we know their body language better.
Yeah, cats are the type, they're very sensitive. Like,
Yeah.
dogs kind of bulldoze their way in, whether you
Yeah.
like them or not. But cats,
You have to read from a distance and, like, gauge their reactions to things.
yeah, because if you're uncomfortable, they're going to be uncomfortable back.
Yeah.
They're kind of like magnifiers, you
Yeah.
know? So I believe that anyway. So I agree. And I think that is also something you reflect. Like, you're definitely someone of, if you like get a bad attitude from someone or whatever, like you're probably gonna, not as overtly, but you're
Yeah.
definitely gonna be like, well, I'm not cozying up to you.
Yeah.
Mess with me, you get my claws kind
Yeah.
of thing. So, does the other person prefer summer or winter?
You like summer?
You like winter.
So opposite.
Our personalities in a nutshell. So does the other person prefer sweet or savory? I put down savory for you.
I put down savory for you.
Hey, I put savory down for both of us. 'Cause that seems really
but
obvious.
I did put the added thing that you're more of a texture person.
See, she does know me. What is the other person's favorite color? Now, I put down pastels and probably pink, but I know you're super mood dependent, and so I'm not sure you actually have a favorite color.
You're completely right, and I'm actually thrilled that you got that, because I'm like, when people ask my favorite color, I'm just like, I don't have one. It depends on my mood, and also I use different colors for different things. Like red is like confidence boosting, and mint green and like sage colors are super chill, as well as like pale yellows. So I tend to decorate my environment more with those colors because
Yeah.
I find them soothing.
I've definitely picked up on that. And that's why I was like, I think pastels are like a preference. But then again, you also really like jewel tones.
I tend to wear more jewel tones.
Yeah. So
Because they're like dark and mysterious. And they're confident and they suit my like coloring.
yeah. So that was like hard. I know in high school your favorite color was red, like scarlet red. But your color, like favorite color changes. Like I've always sort of known that. So what did you put down for mine?
I know it used to be blue. I don't know if it still is. But I also know you really like orange.
Yeah, so if I had to pick two colors, I would say blue and orange. Blue is my most consistent, therefore usually my default answer,
Yeah.
because it's the one color I've loved since I was a kid. But usually I pair it with another color. So I've also gone through recently a bit of a purple phase. Obviously I went through a red phase because we're literally sitting in a room decorated in red.
Yeah.
So yeah, but blue, perfect. And orange is still my second favorite, so good job there. Oh, this one.
This is a tricky one.
Yes. What is the other person's favorite animal?
I mean, like, I kind of hesitantly, like, my answer, because I wrote it down on paper, because I'm that kind of person, is, like, dogs, ... question mark. Because I'm like, I don't think it is, but I don't know what it is.
So, like, it's even bizarre for me to think about, because I would also say dogs. However, I genuinely think my favorite animal, and this is not something that I, like, advertise, whereas my love for dogs is something I advertise way more, is turtles/tortoises.
Oh.
I really love tortoises. I've always wanted a pet one, but I know that's like not animal cruelty, but I don't want to like buy into the whole exotic animal thing.
Yeah.
So
it's like me with axolotls. Like, I'd love one, but I'm like, I don't even know how to pronounce them. But,
I think you're right. I think axolotl.
Like, they're adorable, but I'm like, the amount of care required for them to live happily isn't something I feel like I could provide.
Yeah.
But turtles are similar in that way.
But my dream would be, well, not Galapagos Islands, because that's really touristy for giant tortoises. But I want to go somewhere that has giant tortoises.
Aww.
And I want to volunteer so I get to, like, not go up to them, but I get to, like, feel like I'm caring for them.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's what I would say my favorite animals are. And I don't know, if I see a turtle or a tortoise, it just makes me happy. So I think they're my favorite animal. But dogs are, like, also up there. So you're not wrong there. What I put down for you.
I'm going to say I probably have 2.
Okay. I guessed 1. I put down deer.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I mean,
the whitetail one.
yeah, the spots. I know the
love
name of them, but I can't think of it right now, or back then either. But I know you use deer motifs a lot.
Yes.
You went through a phase where your nickname was Bambi, or like people referred to you as Bambi. You dressed up for our friends' like enchanted forest themed party as a deer.
Satyr, actually.
Yes.
But yeah.
But you had deer makeup.
I
and
had
like
deer makeup because it's cute and I like that.
And like a lot of your art stuff like features deers, or like more
Yes.
specifically deer skeletons. Like
Deer skeletons.
like deer skulls.
I like it's funny because I tend to like use antlery things a lot in my art, and I think the antlers look really pretty when I do that sort of art stuff. But like the female, like the doe, the does, the whitetail ones, the does, I'm just like, oh baby.
Yes. Well, I'm glad I got that right. What was the other one you had put down?
Foxes.
Yes, I remember your fennec fox phase.
I think I'm just like your classic red fox kind of people. I'm just like, oh.
Yeah,
Deers and foxes, foresty animals, babbies.
I'm sort of surprised fox didn't occur to me, to be honest. But yeah, I'm glad I got the deer though. Okay, this should be fun. What is the other person's favorite holiday? And by that, I mean the time of year. So I guessed for you, and if I'm wrong, like, we can just end the podcast here. But it has to be Halloween.
Hell yeah, it is. I got a Halloween present this year.
Did you really?
Yeah, my boyfriend got me a Halloween present.
I was gonna say, who beat you at the friendship game, and who beat me at the friendship game? Sorry, but I will concede to your boyfriend.
And get this, so it's a bottle of fragrance, like a perfume. So it comes in a coffin. That's the box. The box is a coffin.
Like the bottle it comes in, sort of thing?
No, the box. The
Oh,
bottle
okay,
is in.
okay,
I've
okay.
kept the box because it's a coffin. You open the coffin, and it's Jack Skellington.
Oh my God.
And his head comes off, and that's where the nozzle bit
What does it
is.
smell like?
It smells pretty good.
Is it like a floral scent, or?
It's not a floral one, which is good because I actually really hate really sweet scented perfumes.
That's what I was
I'm
gonna
more
say.
like earthy scents.
Musky, yeah, musky.
Like opium is like such a nice scent. It's a little bit citrusy, maybe.
Oh, that suits you.
Yeah, it's actually really nice, and I'm fussy with perfumes.
Oh, that's outside. I thought that was a thing. Someone's setting off fireworks because, of course, someone's celebrating the start of our podcast.
They should be.
Hell yeah. First stop, that guy. The next stop, the rest of the world. Okay, what did you put down? What did you put down for my favorite time of year? We've had this conversation once before, but I would be surprised if you remember it.
Okay, so I have reasons why I had mine, but it was just a guess. New Year's.
Yes!
Yes, I'm right!
Hell yeah. What were your reasons?
Well, it just strikes me as something that you would like. It's like fresh starts, new beginnings. You seem to be a very beginnings-oriented person. You like fresh, you like new, you like changing things up.
Mm-hmm. I love the feeling of starting something.
Mm-hmm.
I love the excitement. I love the amount of hope that comes in.
Yep.
And I love sharing that with everyone.
Yeah.
I don't hate that New Year's has become like the thing where everyone's like, New Year's resolutions.
Yeah. Clearly we're not fans.
I'm gonna go to the gym every single day and get healthy. I hate that. I hate the toxic side of it. But I love setting goals for yourself. I love the time of reflection as well. I love reflecting on the year that I've just been through, what went well, what didn't go according to plan. And I love a reset. And I'm someone who likes setting like a theme for each year.
Yeah.
So like last year it was kind of be adventurous.
Yeah.
Which obviously COVID ended up being very difficult. But
well, that's an adventure in a way.
Yeah, and to be honest, I still managed to find ways of getting outside of my comfort zone, doing new things, starting a new job. So I didn't get to move countries like I wanted to, but I got to do a lot of other stuff. This year, it's literally just go with the flow.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. And I seriously love New Year's. Like, I'm excited for Christmas because it means I'm closer to New Year's. So good job. We did mention this once because I always message you when I'm doing my like goals and my organizations and like when I'm doing my bullet journal stuff at that time of year. So I was wondering if you would remember that. But
I didn't remember you saying that, but it made sense to me.
Oh, I love that. I actually like that more because it's not me giving you the answer. You literally were like sleuthing it out.
Yeah.
I love that.
Detective hat on.
It should be interesting. And I'm actually really curious because I may have changed my answer, but I don't know. We'll find out. The other person's favorite book. And I should say that me and Allora are both big readers in the sense that we love reading. We don't necessarily get to read as much as we want.
No.
But
and we
do
also
love reading.
read very different books.
Entirely different.
We are just like polar opposites when it comes to like what we like reading.
We literally only last year found maybe one or two books that we both
It's taken us
enjoyed.
years.
Yeah. It's pretty wild, but that's fun. So I put down for you that your favorite book, and I'm saying favorite, is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. Did I pronounce his name right? Nabokov?
Whatever.
It doesn't matter. It's Russian. Because that's the book that I think you've reread the most.
I've only read it once.
Like in full, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know you've read the prologue like heaps of times.
Yeah. I find it a very difficult book to read emotionally for obvious reasons. But I think that's a fair answer. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I do have a real love for Nabokov's Way with Words.
Yeah. I
think his prose is beautiful.
Yeah, and that's why I was really hesitant with the term favorite book, because I think it's the book that stuck with you maybe the longest.
I think it's probably the book that got me into reading classics, which is mostly what I read.
Yeah, but I also know that, like you said, Lolita is very difficult for you, and like it's not something that you enjoy reading, and it's also not something that like you enjoy discussing with people either, because people can be a bit difficult with that one.
People are basically illiterate.
Oh yeah, by the way, Alora's a literature snob, so
I was actually thinking about how I work in retail at the moment, and I'm just thinking of customers, and I'm like, people are illiterate. There can be like a million signs on something, like on it and around it, that say $10, and they come up and go, how much is this? And you're just like,
What would you say your actual favorite book is then?
I have a few favorites, but my absolute number one favorite, I actually only read earlier this year.
Oh.
And I'm just so in love with it. And I'm actually having trouble reading other books because I just keep comparing them to it.
You have this problem a lot.
I know. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley.
Oh, like that's like
I'm just in love with that book.
I knew you were like a huge Mary Shelley fan, but I didn't realize like Frankenstein
is my favorite book.
That's so cool.
It's also really funny because you see those memes all the time, how people get all snobby. So some people will be like, oh, Frankenstein, but they're talking about the creature. And then people will jump on their back being like, actually, Frankenstein was the doctor. And then every time I see that now, I'm like, Frankenstein was the real monster.
Yeah, well, like, isn't that partly the point of the story? It's
yeah,
like,
that people are very good at reading books and not comprehending what they're reading.
yes, that's true. Some people treat it as a passive activity, but it's actually quite an active activity.
Yeah.
Mentally, anyway. I didn't realize that had shot up to your, like, favorite. Oh, well, you said you had a couple.
Yeah.
What are some of the others on your list, just so people get a taste?
I really liked The Secret History.
Yep. Donna Tartt.
Donna Tartt.
She's got good writing style.
And Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Dalton is one of my favorites as well.
That's a good one because that's like a local author too.
Yeah, and Gone Girl's probably up there. But I actually preferred Sharp Objects, but you know, Gone Girl's the classic. Flynn,
I think Gone Girl was like a moment for you. Like it was like a. I remember when you read Gone Girl.
It's not even a genre that I necessarily like. And I think that's why I have trouble finding books, is because with those books I've just listed, you know, if you've read them or know about them, you can probably see a kind of through line there. But it's not genre. There's nothing you can pinpoint in a way that could lead you to similar books.
We've had this discussion about this a lot because I read a lot of books and I also watch a lot of content surrounding books. So I know about new releases. I know about the publishing industry. I know a bit. I'm not going to say I'm an expert or anything, but like it's one of my passions is knowing about it. And so like you will often ask me for like recommendations and it's really hard because I'm like, it's really, you're either going to love this or hate this.
Last month, because October, Halloween.
Oh, yep.
Another book I really like that I read recently was The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson.
Oh, you read, because obviously you liked...
I really want to read more horror, but I struggle because I don't like most horror writers.
Is Shirley Jackson black?
I'm not sure, actually.
Okay,
I don't know anything about her.
I was going to say, I think if you read horror from, like, minority groups... you might enjoy it more because they're way more like social
Too
commentary.
much of it is like, oh no, a spooky ghost, and it's like, no, like horror is best when it's used to tell human stories, to explore human terrors.
Yeah.
Not like, oh no, there's a spooky ghost in the attic. Like, who cares?
The point of horror is, I mean, that's a whole topic, really, but like...
That's something we can come to on another day.
Yeah, but like... But you said last week for Halloween you read...
I was trying to read Dracula, and I just couldn't get into it.
It's very bulky, dense.
I knew that, because in my head... all year I've been like, I want to read Jack Dracula, and I loved Frankenstein so much, and I know I'm gonna keep comparing it, especially because every time I Google like, oh, books like Frankenstein, I get Dracula.
Yeah.
And I was trying to read it, and I was like, wow, this sure is no Frankenstein. Okay, your favorites. So,
yes.
this is really difficult. I know you really devour like LGBT literature, but I don't actually know a lot of it, unfortunately. I know Big Magic had a pretty big impact on you, though.
That's the one I wrote down, was Big Magic. So, weirdly enough, sometimes my favorite books end up being non-fiction books that I've read because they just stick with me for some reason. And Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Also, Elizabeth Gilbert is just one of the people that I really, really look up to. I haven't actually read Eat, Pray, Love, which is their like most famous book. But I really like a lot of their lectures online. They've had a very difficult life, and whenever I hear them talk, it just brings me peace. So that's like the one person, not one person, but if I had 3 people that I wanted to have at a dinner party, Elizabeth Gilbert would be one of them. So you're not wrong there. The other one that I was thinking of is Braiding Sweetgrass.
Yes.
By Robin Kimmerer, and that is like an Indigenous nonfiction book about tying Indigenous cultural beliefs and like their approach and philosophy to life with science and botany. And it doesn't sound like it's a really hard thing to pitch, but the actual experience of reading it, and it's one of the only books that has reflected the way I view and think in written word. It was like a very unique experience. So those would be like my top 2.
Nice.
And Freshwater by Akweke Emezi.
I was actually about to say Freshwater because I didn't list that because it's I'm not sure why, but it's definitely had a big impact on me because you recommended that one, and I read it, and it was just it had this huge impact. I was reading it and I was like, wow, I can relate to this in ways that I'm amazed to relate to something in. It's thoughts that I'd had and things that swirled around that I couldn't put sense to, and then to read someone else saying it was really comforting.
Yeah. I think the experience I had with braiding Sweetgrass is probably the experience you had with Freshwater. And I love it. It was already my favorite book of the year. I read it.
Yeah.
But I love it even more because it made that impact for you. And I also just love A Quick MSE, and their memoir came out this year.
Oh,
so
I'm keen.
that's something we've got to read. Maybe even buddy read.
Yes.
So yeah, you did well with that one, because honestly, that was hard for me to answer for myself. Okay. Favorite movie / TV show. I mean, I have to say Lord of the Rings for you.
Fair answer. I wanna move in. Sorry, that's where I'm going now.
Elves have been a reoccurring thing for you, but like
I love elves, but man, I'm a hobbit.
I know. I was gonna say, like, elves have been a reoccurring thing for you since when we were 12.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say your obsession with like hobbits and just like them being like the ideal people, and like we need more people like this, and like you wanting to have like a fellowship, and like
right.
I don't know, you went through this whole thing where
we need more Samwise fuck the police Gamgee in our lives.
Like,
if you've read the books, then like at the end, yeah, it's completely different, and there's this whole like Shire uprising of like fighting cops is way more complicated than that, but that's a fun way to look at it.
Yeah, you literally have been not forcing me, because I've been enjoying it, but my dad is a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so I've grown up with it, but I've never actually sat and watched the movies. And so Laura's taken it upon herself to show it to
I'm
me.
basically forcing everybody around me to do this. It just happens. I'm
So,
just
like-
like, Lord of the Rings. And there's just me like sobbing, being like, I would follow you, my brother, my captain, my king.
For your birthday this year, you literally, all you wanted was for me to come have a sleepover and for us to watch more Lord of the Rings, which is what we did, and it was great. So, is that what you had?
I'd say that's probably the right answer for me.
Okay, because did you have something else written down, or was that...
I didn't write down my own answers. I'm winging mine.
Nice.
But I would say that is because it's just... I mean, The Hobbit's fun, and you know that question of like, oh, if you could only read one book for the rest of your life, what would it be? Mine would be The Hobbit.
Okay.
But I like Lord of the Rings better, and I just wish everybody was like the people in Lord of the Rings.
I understand that.
It's just what I go to for comfort when I feel like people are shit. I just read it and go, oh, everybody's wholesome and noble and brave and kind. And even when they do the wrong thing and go on the wrong path, they like come round. And
There's growth.
there's growth. all the men are so like tender with each other. The women are like... The few there are. Criticisms is like general representation of like everything that isn't white men, but I digress. But just can't people be more like that?
Yeah.
And the women are like so tough and cool.
Yeah.
But also like they don't necessarily have to be tough in like the butch I'm going to shoot someone in the face way.
Yeah.
Like
My favorite bromance is it Gimli? Gimli
and Legolas.
Yeah, them too. Sorry, I love their bromance. Like
Yeah.
that is my favorite thing about the movies so far, and I do like the comedy elements because it could very easily be like a dark exploration, you know, but they make it so wholesome.
It is, and I mean, I could go on about like the characters and like dynamics of different things and like history elements and Tolkien and stuff forever.
You should make a note and talk about it in the future, because I don't, as much as I've been around it, I don't know a lot. So
I feel like if I ever stepped foot in Oxford University, which I desperately want to do, I wish I could study there, but alas, I am poor and Australian. I am learning Latin. I'm working on it. But
that's the only qualification to get into Oxford.
Actually, I actually did look into...
Oh, yeah, I remember you. Yeah.
For some of the courses I'm interested in, you actually sit the entrance exams in Latin and Greek, which is why I started learning Latin.
Wow.
Like, it's essentially a pipe dream, but I'm like, no harm in trying. Also, I own The Hobbit in Latin now.
Really?
Yeah.
I know you were doing your own version of the Odyssey. You were translating it into Latin.
It's actually the Iliad.
Oh.
So, yes, I am reading the Iliad for the first time by finding a Latin translation and translating it into English. Because I'm that person.
Read literature snob, Latin snob. No.
But yeah, I think if I ever set foot in Oxford University, I would just be like, talk and walk here and just like cry.
Oh my god. Oh, I want proof of that.
Someone's just there filming me. Okay, so your favorite movie or TV show? This is another one I wasn't sure about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with Sense8.
Oh, it's up there, but that's not the answer I had.
What's your answer?
So if we're talking fiction, which is where I was leaning towards
Yeah.
with the movie and TV thing, it's actually Leverage.
Oh, we watched so much Leverage together.
Didn't force you. You enjoyed it, but I did make all my friends watch Leverage in high school.
I didn't know that was still your favorite. That's awesome.
I mean, I watch a lot
I
of.
thought of that when I was writing the answers, but I was like, that was so long ago.
Yeah, no, it
Nice.
still is. I mean, there are a lot of shows that I like watching as like comfort things. A lot of BTS reality TV shows
Yep.
are up there. But like if you're gonna say longstanding and like my favorite show, Leverage was the first thing that came to mind. So love that. But I was also like, I haven't talked about that in a long time, so I wasn't sure. Sense8 is a very good answer.
Yeah.
So you weren't far off.
Okay, I feel like I might have your answer for this next question, but I don't know what mine is.
That's great because this is the one question, possibly the only question I could not answer.
I mean, I can give you some, but anyway, the question is dun, dun, dun.
The other person's favorite song. So, and you can do mine because that's fairly straightforward.
It would be BTS.
Mm-hmm.
I've got either Microcosmos or Everything Goes.
Microcosmos is 100% my favorite song. I really want to get
I don't
the
even-
lyrics tattooed on me.
Jen's shown me some BTS, but I don't know enough. But yes,
You've heard me talk about those two songs in particular because those two songs resonate with me. But yeah, Microcosmos, even now, if I'm having a shitty day and I hear the first few beats of that song, instant mood lift. It's like my soul song. I love it so much. So I'm glad that I have no idea what your favorite song is. Like, I could probably list a few artists.
I feel like you'd be better off doing that because yeah, I mean, even favorite artists would be hard. I love music, and I have some very specific sort of genres and stuff I prefer, but it's...
And you've only recently really gotten into, like, listening to whole albums from people. Like, you were kind of someone who...
I mean, we grew up when everyone would just, like, download their music off LimeWire and listen to it on YouTube. I collect records, so, like, I'm a vinyl person, but that's actually been good for getting me to listen to whole albums and appreciate them as a bigger thing than just the song.
I mean, some of the ones that come to mind for me, if we're going, like, old school, My Chemical Romance.
Oh, MCR for life.
Yeah. I would
Jared
also...
Way is just... I look up to him so much.
Nirvana.
Yes.
If you were going to say your favorite songs. Lana Del Rey was also someone I was going to mention.
I don't really listen to Lana as much anymore. I mean, sometimes it's fun to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
But even when I was listening to her a lot, I always thought it was really interesting because as I felt like I was moving into different phases of my life, she'd come out with a new album that just seemed to fit with how I was developing.
Yep.
But I guess, yeah, I'm not listening to her so much these days.
Okay, well,
It's more like a flashback.
What sort of things would you have in your answer?
I love Radiohead.
Yeah.
OK Computer is one of my favorite albums of all time. And I listen to it a lot.
I remember. We went through, we had a hangout session where we took turns. I would show you a BTS song and you would show me a Radiohead song. And it was, like, legit one of the funnest hangouts.
And we would sit there and have, like, these deep analytical discussions about, like, the lyrics and videos and, like, talking about the history of the, like, the artists. And Okay, so I'm just opening Spotify because what do I even listen to? So it's always telling me, like, recently played OK Computer. Something that I have been listening to apparently a lot lately, I think it'll be interesting to see my wrap up because I've only recently gotten Spotify. I listen to a lot of Courtney Barnett.
Oh.
Pedestrian at Best. I absolutely love that song.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to have to listen to some Courtney Barnett. I know I've listened to one or two of her songs.
She's just she's got a lot of dry wit.
Mm-hmm.
She's wordy and funny and sarcastic, and a lot of the time she's just like in this monotone voice being like ugh kind of thing. It's brilliant, and like some rocky like indie rock kind of vibes.
See, that's why I was really struggling to like name favorite songs in that, because I know you listen to like especially like Australian indie music and that sort of stuff, and I just don't know any. So what else? Yeah, like 90s stuff, 80s, 90s. I love the Misfits, the Clash, the Smiths, the Cure, Queen,
Radiohead, Queen.
We vibe to Queen
Bowie.
a lot.
A lot of these are British.
Yeah.
There seems to be like an ongoing thing that every time I find out this new band that I really like, they're British. Like
it's like every time you found out this actor that you were like, oh man, this is perfect, the actor was Irish.
Yeah.
You just have a thing.
Yeah.
You're very good at sensing this stuff in people.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay, I just laughed at my own answer to that.
Okay.
So the next question is the person's favorite food. And I straight up put coffee.
You're not wrong.
I would have put cigarettes, but I thought coffee was more appropriate.
I mean, they go well together. My favorite breakfast.
Your favorite food aesthetic. Red
Yeah.
wine, coffee, and cigarettes.
Yeah.
And that's not even ironic. That is legit.
I'm just that person sitting there with my, like, whatever I'm reading, Sartre, apparently.
Yeah. But the funny thing about you liking coffee is you're not one of those people that drinks like 6 to 8 cups a day.
I tend to have, like, 2.
Yeah, but I know that like you have a sort of ritual about it and you find it very like meditative and stuff, and like you genuinely enjoy the taste. Like you're not drinking it to like, yes, you're drinking it to wake up and stuff, but like you're genuinely like enjoy the taste of coffee. And I think if you knew more about it, you'd be one of those people be like, oh yes, these beans are from Ecuador or whatever.
Yeah, I can totally see myself becoming that kind of person. It just hasn't really been available to me.
Save enough money.
But I do have like a preference for actual coffee beans, freshly ground.
Yep.
And all that.
Dark
and, like,
roast
done
or?
through yeah, not too fussy.
Oh.
And French pressed.
Nice.
And I absolutely hate the coffee pod things you can buy, like Nespresso and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they taste like mud. They're disgusting.
All right. Tell me what you had for me.
Ironically, tiramisu is one of them. And hummus. Those are my 2 for you.
She knows me well. So I didn't write that down. However, tiramisu is my favorite dessert.
Yes.
That and red velvet, which is funny because I'm not a cake person.
And you're not a coffee person, and yet here we are.
Look, I'm full of contradictions, flicks my non-existent long hair.
Soul opposites.
Right. So they're definitely my favorite desserts, but I'm not a you spilled that down your chocolate.
I did.
Good thing you have a lot of cleavage to catch it.
Now I'm just sticky.
I lost my train of thought. Hold on a second, let me catch it.
Tiramisu.
Yeah. They're definitely my favorite dessert. That is definitely my favorite dessert. However, I'm not a huge dessert person.
Yeah.
So I put down hot chips.
Hot chips.
Classic.
Hot
like
chips
that.
dipped in hummus. How does that sound? Smear some tiramisu
that
on top.
My personality sounds like a monstrosity. Hummus on chips doesn't sound that bad. Like I will have regular potato chips with hummus.
That's
so,
nice.
Yeah.
Somehow it's different when they're hot.
Before we go on to any more questions, I feel like we do need to we need to separate the
Because
episode.
this is going to be super long already.
Because we're only like halfway through the questions and we've been going for a little while and I kind of predicted this, but
I
still.
need a smoker's break.
I'm like surprised Pikachu face, even though I knew this was going to happen.
I'm that like... Yeah, completely unsurprised face.
Also, if you can hear like a grumbling in the background, it's because my dog's at my bedroom door and he just wants to come in so bad. And I feel like we need a puppy break.
We do need a puppy break.
We're going to end this episode here and we're going to put up a part 2.
Yes.
And we'll answer the rest of the questions.
Yeah.
I don't have a sign off for this podcast. So.
We still don't have a sign off.
We don't have a sign off, but
We'll try and think of one.
If there is anyone out there that listened to this,
Hi, Mum.
Future Jen, hey. Thank you. And hopefully it was interesting. I feel like my favorite thing is when we go, not off topic, but when we divert. So, like, I really enjoy talking about books with you. So,
Yeah,
that was fun.
I feel like most of this has been getting distracted talking about music and books, honestly. Those have been our longest tangents, I think.
And that's fine because I think, like, that's what's going to give the best summarization of our personalities. Yeah. So, I'm all for it. Hopefully, we do have some very interesting questions coming up, just so you know. We've got things of, like...
It's getting deep and meaningful now.
Yeah, like our biggest insecurity, the thing that we're like most proud of, like all those like emotional kind of topics, as well as some fun ones. It's not all heavy and scary, I guess. So we hope you stick around and listen to the next episode, even if it's just our future selves and family. We're going. Have a nice night, day.
Smell you later, losers.
No. That's not our sign off. Thank you for listening to the Soul Opposites podcast. If we haven't scarred you for life, please come back. I found one.